Your unconscious is not carved in stone. It bends. It rewires. It mutates with every symbol you dream, every word you repeat, every silence you dare to hold. Carl Jung named the hidden machinery archetypes, complexes, the shadow that stalks behind your thoughts. Neuroscience now whispers the same thing in a different tongue. Synapses fire together and wire together. Prediction errors ripple through cortex. The default mode network in your mind hums the story you call I. And when that story falters, when a chant stills yourself, when silence shocks the brain with absence, the clay of your identity softens. This is not just psychology. This is plasticity. And tonight you'll see how Jung's archetypes are not myths locked in the past, but circuits you can shape. Jung saw the psyche as layered. On the surface, your persona, the mask. Beneath it, complexes, repeating emotional knots. And deeper still, archetypes. Patterns older than language. Forms that move through myth, religion, dream. Neuroscience gives us a parallel. Your brain is not blank. It comes equipped with circuits tuned to survival, fear of snakes, attraction to faces, hunger, awe. Think of them as structural archetypes, templates etched by evolution. A 2023 model breaks it down further. Structural archetypes are hardwired templates. Regulatory archetypes are patterns that steer emotion. Representational archetypes are images, symbols, myths that clothe the raw template. This tripartite lens echoes Jung's own. The skeleton, the blood, the dream. And what about altered states? In 2024, researchers mapped psychedelic visions to subcortical affective systems and higher-order cortex. The Igen modes of the unconscious, they called them. Archetypal images, like serpents, mothers, gods, erupt when limbic systems flood the cortex and high-level predictions weaken. This is not fantasy. It is the nervous system showing its ancient scaffolding. So Jung's archetypes are not just stories. They are neural patterns waiting to fire. And neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire, means even these ancient forms can shift. With symbol, with ritual, with conscious work. Jung warned of the complex, a splinter of psyche charged with emotion. It speaks in repetition. It hijacks attention. It makes you say, I didn't mean to. It just happened. In the brain, we see the same logic. Hebbian plasticity, neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time a trauma loops, every time shame pairs with memory, the bond strengthens. Circuits thicken into grooves. The complex becomes a living knot. Modern neuroscience shows this in the default mode network. Trauma reshapes its rhythms. Connectivity warps. Self-reflection fragments. Autobiographical recall bends around the wound. You replay the same story again and again. It is not fate. It is plasticity. But left alone, plasticity favors the rut. It deepens the groove. The complex becomes a parasite, feeding on your sense of self. Jung described complexes as little personalities within the psyche. Science gives us a metaphor just as eerie. Self-referential circuits looping endlessly, independent of your conscious will. They are not demons from without. They are loops from within. But what you must remember is there is a danger. A complex is sticky because it is tied to emotion. Emotion is the amplifier of plastic change. The more you fear, the faster the wiring. The more you shame, the stronger the link. This is why you feel trapped. It is not weakness. It is neurobiology. The shadow is written in synapses. But what Jung intuited, and what neuroscience now confirms, is that these knots can be untied. Memory reconsolidation research shows it. When a memory is reactivated, there is a window of malleability. During that window, new information can be woven in. A complex can be softened. The circuit can be rewired. This is contamination, not demonic possession, but the hijacking of plasticity by unresolved archetype and raw emotion. The good news: the same plasticity that enslaves you is the plasticity that can set you free. Neuroscience has begun to map the very gateways Jung only glimpsed. Plasticity is not random. It follows rules, and those rules can be bent by symbol, sound, and silence. Take chanting. Repetitive ritual speech is not just cultural noise. Recent studies show it shifts the brain's default mode network, the circuitry of self-talk. The posterior cingulate, that hub of your wandering narrative, goes quiet. Delta waves rise, the chatter dims, the self loosens. This is why mantra feels more than calming. It is predictive engineering. Each repetition weights the model of self less and less. Precision drops. The persona softens. Plasticity opens. Silence is even stranger. Neuroscientists found that the brain reacts not only to sounds, but to the absence of expected sound. When you anticipate a note and it never comes, the cortex fires in shock. Absence is presence. Silence is a rupture in prediction. And in that rupture, categories can dissolve. Now add memory reconsolidation. For decades, we thought memories were fixed once formed. But the evidence is clear. Reactivating a memory reopens it. In that window, with the right cue, the memory can be rewritten. Arts therapies exploit this. Imagery, music, spontaneous symbols. These do not just comfort. They destabilize the knot. They lace in new associations. The circuit shifts. Imagine it. A ritual chant stills the default mode network from its usual pattern. A moment of silence shocks prediction. An image arises, reshaping an old wound as it replays. Plasticity does the rest. The complex is not erased, but recoded. Jung's intuition was right. Archetypes and complexes are not metaphors. They are plastic networks. They can seize you, or they can be seized back. This is the revelation. Plasticity is the shadow's curse, and its cure. Every psyche hides a mirror. Jung called it the shadow, the part of you refuse to see, the envy, the rage, the desire that contradicts your mask. What you will not claim, you project. You cast it outward onto friend or foe. You say, they are the selfish one, they are the corrupt one, while the circuitry hums inside your own skull. Neuroscience frames projection differently. The brain is a prediction machine. It fills the gaps of perception with priors. When your self-model cannot hold a truth, the prediction leaks. You misassign the source. You perceive outside what is arising inside. This is not weakness. It is circuitry under strain, the default mode network, tuned to autobiographical memory and self-talk, bends its weights. Prediction errors grow too loud. The brain resolves the dissonance by disowning, by casting the pattern outward. In ritual, we see the same dynamic. Archetypal masks, shamanic symbols, visionary totems. They externalize the inner. Participants describe self-dissolution. The hidden contents of psyche erupt in animal form, divine figure, monstrous image. The shadow steps out of hiding. The circuit is projected into symbol. There is a paradoxical element at play here. Projection both traps and frees. Traps, because you live in distortions, at war with your own shadow. Frees, because symbol gives you a handle. What emerges in ritual space can be witnessed, dialogued with, integrated. Neuroscience of imagery supports this. Imagined scenes and real perceptions share cortical signatures. If an image is vivid enough, the brain cannot tell the difference. Imagination becomes reality in the circuits of prediction. So the shadow you meet in dream, in vision, in symbol, is not fantasy. It is plasticity at play. A distortion of the self-model rendered visible, a chance to step into the mirror and rewire what you once denied. Jung discovered a door in the mind. Not by accident, not in dream, but in waking. He called it active imagination. Sit with an image. Hold it in silence until it moves on its own. Then follow it into the abyss. It sounds like madness. Yet it was Jung's most dangerous experiment. Because what rose from the depths was not fantasy. It was archetype, given voice. It was the unconscious, incarnating in symbol. Now neuroscience begins to sketch the contours of this door. It shows a seat of narrative self, autobiographical memory, inner speech. In active imagination, this network loosens. The salient system, hunter of what matters, lights up. The boundaries blur between what is imagined and what is real. Studies show it. Imagined scenes recruit the same visual cortex as perception. Dialogue with inner figures activates the very circuits used in conversation. The brain cannot fully distinguish symbol from substance. The imaginal is real. Real enough to rewire. Memory reconsolidation research confirms it. When you reactivate a memory, it softens. Insert new imagery, new meaning, and the circuit rewrites. What Jung enacted with symbols, science now detects in synapses. And when ritual joins imagination, the effect intensifies. Chanting down-regulates the system. Silence shocks the prediction engine. In that vulnerable state, an image emerges, archetype draped in new form. This is not metaphor. It is neuroplasticity harnessed by symbol. But there is danger here. If the image overwhelms, if the shadow erupts without containment, the psyche can drown. Jung knew this. That is why he warned. The unconscious is not a toy, it is an ocean. To enter it is to risk dissolution, but also to find transformation. Provenance then is clear. Active imagination is ritual plasticity, a way to speak with the circuitry that writes your fate. To meet the archetype, not as myth, but as living network. And to return, bearing its fire, rewired. Close your eyes, not as an order, as an invitation. Let the screen behind your forehead flicker. The colors that appear there are not random. They are the nervous system sketching archetypes on the dark. Notice how a fragment wants to form. A face, an animal, a symbol you cannot quite name. Don't chase it. Let it move on its own. The brain is a prediction engine. It will try to resolve the chaos into shape. Allow it. Observe it with the same patience you would a flame. Perhaps it shifts. Perhaps it speaks. You do not need to control it. You are not its puppeteer. You are its witness. And when it fades, do not drag it back. Let the silence have its turn. Silence is not empty. It is the loudest signal your brain will ever meet. The shock of nothing, sculpting new circuits. Notice how the silence tastes. Is it heavy? Is it electric? Does it feel like a curtain before something arrives? In that silence, yourself loosens. The categories soften. The mask slips. For a moment, the archetype and the neural circuit are one. This is the rite, not to command, not to conquer, but to witness the imagination become real enough to change you. Open your eyes when you are ready. You have stepped into the imaginal. You have let silence sculpt your nervous system. And even in this brief descent, the clay has shifted. Individuation, Jung's word for the slow unfolding of the self. Not perfection, not purity, but the ceaseless dialogue between what you are and what waits beneath. Science once thought the brain hardened with age, that after childhood, the clay was baked. But the evidence says otherwise. Plasticity never dies, it only narrows. And with novelty, ritual, and meaning, it widens again. The default mode network, the seat of your story, reshapes across the lifespan. trauma warps it. Meditation tunes it. Psychedelics desynchronize it. Chanting quiets it. Every practice leaves fingerprints on the self you think is fixed. Individuation is not a metaphor. It is the nervous system's lifelong ability to sculpt identity. Each archetype you meet, each shadow you face, is not just mythic. It is synaptic. The self is not a statue. It is a river. And on the larger scale, the same truth repeats. Cultures, too, are plastic. Rituals reinforce collective complexes. Propaganda warps the shared DMN of nations. Civilizations rise by inventing new myths and decay when the myths become cages. The micro and the macro mirror each other. Your brain updates its models. Society updates its gods. Both are myths written in plastic circuits. This is the revelation Jung never lived to see. That individuation is not only a spiritual process, but a biological one. And that every silence you dare to hold, every symbol you dare to follow, is a vote in the parliament of your own becoming. Individuation is not optional. It happens whether you choose it or not. The only question is, do you shape the clay consciously? Or do you let the world shape it for you? Plasticity is power. But power is never innocent. The same circuits that let you soften a trauma can be hijacked to install a complex. Every slogan, every chant, every viral symbol is an attempt to write on your nervous system. Jung warned that unconscious contents, if unintegrated, will rule your life from the shadows. Science adds the grim detail. The more emotional the message, the faster the wiring. Fear, shame, desire. These are accelerants of plastic change. This is how propaganda works. This is how cults bind followers. This is how algorithms hold you in a trance of endless scroll. Not demons. Prediction loops. Plasticity turned against you. So, beware. Ritual is not neutral. Every repetition is a groove in the clay. Every symbol you dwell on strengthens its circuit. Even silence, if filled with despair, can carve its hollow. The purification is not to reject plasticity. That is impossible. The purification is awareness, to see the shadow when it wears a mask. To know when the chant is not your own. To guard the temple of your nervous system. This is the razor's edge. Plasticity grants freedom, but also makes you programmable. You are not immune. Neither was Jung. Neither am I. Neither are you. So choose your symbols wisely. Choose your silences carefully. Do not surrender your circuits to those who profit from your trance. The shadow is not just inside. It speaks through culture. It speaks through power. And if you cannot see it, you will be shaped by it. Your brain is not stone. It is mythic clay. Every thought, every image, every silence leaves its fingerprint. This is the secret Jung intuited, and science now confirms. Complexes are not eternal prison. They are circuits. Rewritable if you dare to face them. Archetypes are not dead gods. They are living eigenmodes of your nervous system, waiting to be clothed in new form. Chant, silence, symbol. These are not toys. They are chisels. Each one strikes at the marble of your identity. Each one shapes the story you will call I. The danger is real. Plasticity makes you vulnerable to culture, to propaganda, to your own shadow. But the gift is greater. Individuation is not a dream of wholeness. It is the art of conscious sculpting, of shaping the self from the inside, with the tools of ritual, imagination, and awe. So pause now. Feel the silence behind these words. Notice how even absence speaks. Notice how your circuits lean forward, predicting, rewiring, opening. This is your temple. This is your clay. Shape it. Or be shaped. Write "I shape the clay" in the comments to seal this rite. And remember, every symbol you hold, every silence you keep, every chant you breathe is a stroke in the great sculpture of your becoming. If this video shifted something in your mind, you're ready for the next level. Download my free ritual guide in the description. No catch, just pure psychological alchemy you can use tonight. If you want to go deeper, hit the initiation playlist. It's your step-by-step journey into breaking unconscious patterns and mastering your own mind. Both links are waiting below. Your transformation starts now. Until next time.